between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello everyone and welcome to the VRRC League of Champions Round 4 here at Oulton Park. My name is Daniel Handover. Joining me in the commentary box this evening is Mr. Steve Proudley and Mr. Dave Marshall. It has been an incredible season for the last 3 rounds, and it's all going to come down potentially to the very last race. I'm very, very excited to get this round underway, and qualifying, as we have seen in practice, it's going to be incredibly close as well. So a lot of action to be had this evening. Steve, I suppose the last 3 rounds been absolutely incredible, haven't they?
They have, definitely, yes. And last week at Thruxton, it really threw up, I won't say a few surprises, but Jack McIntyre, the sort of early leader in the championship, shall we say, was really struggling with a retirement in race 1, and I think it was a 6th place in race 2. So, yeah, everything to play for these guys tonight.
It is, absolutely. We've got the standings at the top, so you can see Jordan Brennan currently leading the standings with 96 points. Robbie Stapleford only 3 points behind, but the main man, Jack McIntyre, the person who didn't necessarily perform how we were expecting out at Thruxton last week, is in 3rd, and he's at 89 points. So as we were saying, this is very much going to come down to the wire. Dave, for yourself, I suppose you've been closely following what's been happening in practice. What's the general consensus? How's it going to fare between the drivers today?
General consensus is nerves. Everyone is a bit on edge tonight. You've got Jack, who he's jumped in and gone straight away near the top of the leaderboard. But you've got Jordan there, who's been putting the laps in and is incredibly consistent. And I don't think drivers quite know whether they're practicing on quali setups or whether they're practicing on the race setup with the fueling. So I think there's a bit of tactics going on and a bit of mind games. But yeah, exciting.
It is indeed. It's going to be very, very exciting. I can't wait. At the moment, you can see on the screen now, so we've actually got the practice times up, which is a really good indicator of what's been happening as well. But we're just about to move over to qualifying, and this is very much all to play for. But before we do get started, though, Dave, if you just want to explain sort of what VRRC are doing with this whole League of Champions concept. We've just had the Porsche Cup, or the Porsche Challenge. What's next for the series of the League of Champions?
Yeah, so as you said, this is the finale of the Porsche. Next round, where we go into our new start of the championship that runs for another 4 weeks. So that is the Fabath Cup. And the car is very similar to sort of a Formula Ford style-esque car. It's a Fiat engine in the car, out of a Fiat Abarth, based in a Formula 4 style chassis. So lots of adjustment, lots of little aero, not a lot of assists. But yeah, going to be a mega series. Already got really quite a very full grid for it, with some very good drivers, very good standard of drivers. And we've seen a lot of interest from people who haven't already done the Porsche as well, which is really good to see. So anyone, last sort of chance to get properly involved with the next round, sign-ups are open, so feel free to jump on VRRC and get in touch.
Good stuff, absolutely. It's going to be a very, very good round. And like I said, if we can take anything from what this Porsche Challenge has been like, it's going to be very, very close racing indeed. Interesting to see, though, obviously, from drivers that are going to be coming from the Porsche Challenge to then driving the open wheel. It's going to be interesting to see how they adapt and develop. I suppose, Steve, what a track to round it off. I know Oulton Park is a track that I do quite enjoy driving around. Is it one of your favourites as well, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to Oulton Park many times to watch the BTCC, British GT, British Superbikes, club racing, sidecars. It's a fantastic track to watch any form of motorsport around, and these Porsches will be a bit of a handful around here. Not quite as high speed as it was last week at Thruxton, but certainly challenging in many different ways. With there's down the lakeside heavy braking zone into the hairpin there, and then coming over hilltop down to Hislop chicane, there'll be heavy braking into there. And obviously Lodge Corner, the all-important almost last corner, if you can call Deers Leap a corner when they come out onto the start-finish straight. Yeah, but Lodge Corner, you've got to get that right to get the run out onto the start-finish straight. You can quite easily lose momentum and lose positions towards the finish line there. So it's going to be a challenging track for them this evening in the Porsches.
It is indeed. I suppose the elevation change as well, with the cars not really having that much front, not having much weight over the front axle. The elevation changes are probably going to throw something in. Well, like I said, Dave, you've driven this track obviously a lot more with this challenge car than myself or Steve. Is the undulations and the fact that the track does drop away from you quite drastically in some places, does that upset the balance of the Porsche, or is it normally quite generally sort of quite stable throughout the track?
That's probably the problematic thing with the Porsche, if I'm honest. You think it's balanced till it hits a bump, and then you very quickly realise it's still got the engine out the back axle. So it's one of them where once you get the setup dialed in, the track is very bumpy, and you'll probably notice on these replays here, on the live stream, that the car is incredibly stiff. So any bumps or any undulation that the car hits, it corresponds through all four wheels. It's not just sort of a, one wheel pops up, the whole car moves around. So, it's going to be a case in quali getting that hooked up and, getting the car as stable as possible. But in the race when you're following, it is going to be an incredibly difficult track to get your lines right.
Exactly, yeah, and we actually spoke about this slightly before the start of the broadcast. We were talking about, aggression. I think is going to be a key factor, especially when it comes to like that first couple of laps. You're going to want to be making, as you said, it's quite hard to follow. There's not really many overtaking opportunities. I suppose you've got, I'd probably say the main ones are sort of Island Bend, maybe going into turn one, so Druids as well. There are a few, but the track is quite narrow, so it's very much going to be, I think, a sort of muscle your way through. But at the moment, we've got Jack McIntyre with a 121.044. Robbie Stapleford at 3/10 behind. So at the moment, Jack is... he's got some good pace compared to what we said, Steve, compared to what we saw at Thruxton. Jack seems to be really sort of stepping back on that pace and carrying that momentum, there's a slight loss of momentum that he had at Thruxton, and really carrying it through, which is ultimately the most important round of the championship.
Yeah, and interesting to see, Robbie Stapleford as well, obviously a double winner last week at Thruxton, due to the technical issues with the reverse grid in the second race. He got pole position for that as well, and he took it through to the win. So Robbie's coming through on a high this week, and he's currently in second place now in qualifying, and he's second in the championship as well as it stands at the moment. So Jack though, he's back on the pace. We saw him practice. He was in the sort of high 20s, so a couple of tenths quicker than he's gone there. So maybe he's going to shave a bit off that time. As qualifying moves on, we've got 9.5 minutes left still. But just a quick question from myself to Dave. Obviously, the guys run success ballast. How much does that affect them around a track like Oulton Park compared to, say, maybe last week at Thruxton? And I think you mentioned some of the guys have taken an option to reduce that ballast this week, Dave.
Yeah, so through VRRC you buy membership packages, and with their membership packages you get VRRC credits. So with them credits, one of the perks is one of the packages is remove 50% of your success ballast once every championship. So as you can see, well, you probably can't see because it's not on the screen at the moment, but Jack, you've got Robbie Stapleford and Jordan Brennan have all took their 50% ballast reduction for the last round, which is obviously the sensible thing to do. They've all taken it. Probably saw one person take it and then gone, well, if them are taking it, I'm going to have to do it as well, because otherwise we might not be quite as competitive. But if I'm honest, time-wise, what I'm seeing, it's probably worth a tenth and a half. It's not worth a lot at all. but consistently wise, over a race pace, it could lead itself into being a lot more. So I think it's probably a sensible decision by the top three to do it. But yeah, it basically means all them three are basically on identical ballast, so it's going to be about as even as it can get, with the points about as tight as it can get. So exciting.
Yeah, great. I mean, really, just the first part of that question. I mean, the ballast, it's only worth around about 10th here, but just I suppose looking at it from the outside in now, I've not driven the Cup cars around Oulton Park. I would have expected that ballast to hurt them more around here anyway than Thruxton. Would that pretty much be the case?
If I'm honest, Thruxton hurt the car quite a lot actually, because the corners were sort of that fast and that open. The weight tried to push the car out of the corner a lot, so it meant you had to probably scrub a little bit more entry speed off into a corner with the ballast on than without it. Whereas around Oulton Park, it's relatively narrow, relatively bumpy, and it's probably slightly more of a technical track. Oh, as we see, I think that was Alex Toth-Jones who was our guest driver for tonight. So it's good to see him getting involved in the VRRC, and he's proven himself to be really quite quick out the block. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, it was a little bit quick with the right foot there as well, by the looks of it.
I think he was getting a smidge greedy, but he's fifth on the board. First time in the car, incredibly impressive first drive. So definitely want to watch in the race there. But yeah, as we were saying about the ballast at Oulton Park. It's that bumpy and it's that technical that sort of the drivers that's got the car slightly more underneath them, they managed to cope with that ballast a little bit better. Whereas Thruxton, it had all that weight really pushing them on, and yeah, we'll see. But I think Oulton's probably not going to hurt them as much with ballast.
Very, very true indeed. We just got Jordan Brennan with a 121.388. Good text that, as I say that, he's just gone off at, I'm guessing that looked to be Druid. He had a bit of a slight excursion there and met the barrier. Not ideal, you don't want to do that in the race. But at the moment, Jack and McIntyre, again with the purple sector, look at that, a 120.7 or 120.693. So he's really almost in the mid 120s, which are the lap times I didn't think we'd see, especially this early in qualifying. 6 minutes, so it's just ticked over. So 5 minutes and 56 seconds left, but the gap is now extended to almost 0.7 of a second from Robbie Stapleford. I can imagine Jack will be excited, and obviously he'll be wanting this to stay. Robbie Stapleford may not be wishing this so much, so he's got to try and find some more pace in the Porsche around Oulton Park. As I said, we're just going to jump on board with him. So that was another good lap from him there. So consistent laps is one of the good things, I suppose. It's not all about qualifying pace. You've got to make sure that you're consistent, especially around a track like this, where, as you were saying, Dave, the car's so bumpy, the suspension chassis is generally so stiff. You've got to be consistent around here, because otherwise, not being consistent, that's going to cost you a lot of places, especially when there are, only 2 more races left, of which are very, very crucial to the decider of this championship.
Yeah, I mean, consistency is everything we're racing anyway, to be fair. It's all good putting a good quali lap in. But, if you get a bad start of the race or anything like that, then there's all your hard work gone. Qualifying just makes your race slightly easier, really. So, yeah, it's incredibly good to see Robbie Stapleford there, incredibly consistent, running all the track to its limits, but keeping within them. But, yeah, I think Jack, unfortunately, he's probably going to park it in the pits there and go job done. That is an outstanding lap. I've obviously done a few laps around here for the 1010s coaching. Robbie Stapleford being one of the people that I actually coach, and yeah, a mid 120 is blisteringly fast. So I think he's going to be quietly confident that he's secured pole there. But as I've said for the past 3 races, Robbie Stapleford is looking like he's going to part next to him on the grid, and who knows what's going to happen when the clutch drops.
Exactly. Now, we've seen that before. Some of these races that we have at the race starts, if you get that start wrong, then it's all can go downhill very, very quickly. But at the end of the day, we'll see. These drivers, I think, have had long enough now to get really used to this car. So we have seen less of the... we have seen a few less people sort of like dropping the clutch in the wrong place. So we have seen some better starts generally throughout the field. As we know, it's now on board, or currently on the screen, Martin Johnson, who's currently in P11, 1.2 seconds. We've just got Max Edmondson, who's gone with a 121.545 in P4, so he's just within the top 5. It's actually relatively close, to be fair. Obviously, let's disregard for a second, Steve, the gap between first and second, which is 0.6. You actually look further down the order then, I'm just looking from second to seventh. That's less than 0.4 of a second. So it's going to be very, very close. And it could be very close, especially if Jack doesn't particularly get a very good start.
Yeah, and it's almost like qualifying's normal service resumed with Jack McIntyre absolutely obliterating the opposition. I know 0.6 doesn't sound a lot, but in racing that's a massive gap, and he's doing really well. But yeah, like you said, the other guys behind are all pretty close, and it's up to them to try and close that gap down. And what is going to be absolutely critical, as Dave was talking to us just before we came on there, when the lights go green, the Robbie Stapleford, Jordan Brennan, those guys in particular, are going to have to be controlled but aggressive at the start. They're not. Jack is not. They can't afford to let him get away, because if we know it from past races, if Jack McIntyre gets his head down and gets those apexes and just gets the clean air and makes the break, he will gap them. And once he's gapped them, they're not going to catch him, and that will be. That's not what they want this evening. So I don't think anyone's going to beat him in qualifying, but they need to just focus on that start and really not let him get away. They don't want to get hung up battling with each other too much, really. They want their eyes on the prize, which tonight is going to be Jack McIntyre, I think, in race 1.
Very, very true. We've got just under 2 minutes left until the flag drops for the end of qualifying, and then we're going to move over to race 1. Before we do get any further, though, if you haven't done so already, if you could leave the stream a like, if you haven't already as well, do consider subscribing. It would be a massive help to us, so we would greatly appreciate it. And also, get involved in the broadcast comments as well. We'd love to be able to chat with you as we're going through. So we're just gonna roll through. So we've got Michelle Dunn saying good luck, Jordan. Aidan Millward has come in saying Oulton Park, yay. So clearly an Oulton Park fan there from Aidan. Dave Jones has said good evening, guys. Just made it in time, so good to have you all with us, Dave. So you've got Alan Rowland as well. Good luck to Mr. Robbie Stapleford. Had good racing last weekend, which it was indeed. Very, very, very true. And we've also got Toby Trice, one of the people that we were really quite excited to commentate on when we were at Donington. He said, good luck, everyone. Wish I was out there with you. So all the best, Toby. Hope everything is okay, and look forward to seeing you on the grid very, very soon. But at the moment, Max Bird, currently a second behind. To be fair, even when we look at it, I've actually just noticed as well that Robbie Stapleford, I know it's only another 10th that he's pulled out. The gap has come down to just under 0.6 of a second, Dave. But that must be a little bit... I know that obviously it is going to be tricky for him. I think Robbie Stapleford is the man that is under the most pressure at the moment in terms of going into this round. But I think that's probably given him a little bit of a confidence boost. I think even that extra 10th, it all sort of helps to gain that confidence, especially come to the race.
Yeah, it does massively. I mean, even if he can gain a 10th back on Jack, Robbie be looking at this like Jack's put a hell of a lap time in for pole lap. As he's flashing his lights there, he must be on a bit of a storming lap there, as we see him do a 21.2. But yeah, as I say, Robbie Stapleford's going to be keeping an eye on third place, particularly. He's got Brennan there, who's as much in the fight for the championship. You've got Brennan there, who is 7 points ahead of Jack. So he's going to be probably going into this. Yes, he wants to be really aggressive and get through the pack and trying to get in front of Jack there. But also, he'll be thinking, if Jack wins this, it's only 3 points advantage if I finish second. So is it worth letting Jack take the win, sitting back in second place, and then being the place ahead of him on the reverse grid and playing it smart and going defensive? So, it's too hard to guess at the moment.
That's very, very true, actually. To be fair, I completely forgot about that. You got the reverse 12. The top 12 do get reversed for race 2, so that's something as well to consider. So yeah, potentially, he may very well be in that position. Obviously, at the moment, he won't be able to finish this lap. He's already a second and a half down in the first sector. But that is qualifying over. So anyone that crosses the line now, that is their qualification done. But at the moment, provisionally, and at the moment, I can't see anyone beating it at the moment. Jack McIntyre is currently on the pole. 0.5 of a second ahead of the man on your screen now, Robbie Stapleford. He's just going to trundle on into the pits. Also as well, to make sure, a link has just popped up in the chat as well. You can also see the live timings as well. So we have this data available to us as well. If you follow the link, you can also have that full live timing available to you as well. So you can keep up with the action all the way through the grid. So do make sure you check that link out there. Kenny Press, currently on the screen now, he's in P18. He's on a lap. This will be his last lap before he crosses the line. Is he going to improve? He's about a tenth away from P7, about a tenth and a half away from P17. So he's just about to come over the line. Is he going to? He doesn't. He just goes straight into the pits. So I believe that is everyone over for the end of qualifying. And there we are. Jack McIntyre taking pole position by just over 0.4 of a second. I think, to be fair, looking further down the grid than Jack. Actually, to be fair, I'm looking between P2 and P3. Look at Robbie Stapleford. Look at Matt Richards. He's 0.02 of a second behind him. I've just noticed that.
Yeah, absolutely, really close. I was just watching that when, as you say, we're just checking through the timings and whatever sort of Robbie did. Matt Richards jumped in there and just 2,000 off his lap time. So I just couldn't get any closer than that without being the same sort of time. So awesome job. But as I said earlier, I still think it's going to be a case of just not letting Jack McIntyre get away at the start. So these boys are going to have to maybe try and avoid fighting with each other and just chase Jack down and stick with him as much as they can, because he's the man with the pace.
Indeed, yes, very much, very true indeed. We actually do have Jack. We've just been told in the commentary box. So, Dave, would you want to go and have a chat with Jack quick?
Yeah, no bother at all.
Awesome.
Right then, Jack, how are we doing?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
What was that? that was a bit of a lap, that.
I don't really know where that came from. I know I said that at Donington and at Snetterton, but I really don't know where that one came from. I think the other two times I had an inkling that I would be able to go faster, but yeah, that's 0.2 faster than I've ever been in practice. So I don't know if it's the pressure or.
I'm noticing a bit of a pattern there. You seem to always turn up and go, yeah, that was a bit of a god lap, that was.
Yeah, well, there's another individual who always used to do that in the mini challenge, Dave. So I'm learning from him.
Well, I've put my boots up for now, so we might see who's back in the mini challenge, eh? But what I did take from that is I looked at your last lap time, and your last lap time was still within a tenth of your pole lap. So you're saying it's a god lap, it's still showing that you've got incredibly fast average speed.
Yeah, well, thanks, I guess. I think it's just kind of clicked a little bit. I've struggled all week in practice. The track's so bumpy and the car's really lively, but it just kind of feels like when I get into qualifying, I kind of forget about that and just go for it. So yeah, I don't really know where that came from. I'm a bit surprised, to be honest. But hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, until that happens. How are you feeling with the competitors behind you in the championship standings? What's your approach for sort of this race? I mean, to be fair, as any racing driver would, you've put it on pole, you're going to want to win this race. But are you more thinking now for second race reversed what's going to happen, or is your focus just on the first race?
Just one at a time, I think. After I had a horrible week last week and I didn't score many points at all, so that really set me back in the championship. So I need at least one win tonight to have a shot. So just be head down at the start, go for the win in race one, and then I'll think about race two later if I manage to get race one done.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you noticed this before, but on this grid it's a bit unusual because you actually start on the right-hand side of the grid for pole. So you're going down to turn one with Robbie is actually going to be on your left-hand side going down to turn one. So have you got any particular strategy for how you're going to tackle first corner, or is it just going to be seeing what it's like off the clutch control?
We just have to see how it goes. I mean, like you said, these cars are tricky to start, and there's a really fine line with the clutch to whether or not you get a good start or you get a horrible start. So hopefully I get a good start, and then I don't really have any issue down into turn one. But apart from that, we'll just have to see. There's a good opportunity for around the outside pass at turn one. So if Robbie's there, then I'll be watching out for that. But just got to see how it goes. React to what happens.
Spot on. Well, unless if there's any more questions from the other guys, then fantastic luck for this race. Hope it goes well. Keep your head down and let's crack on, eh?
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Go back.
And there we go. That was Jack McIntyre, the pole sitter. He's going to have a large amount of confidence. I can imagine going into race one, although we have seen it. I said it's probably not as common now that everyone's used to the cars, but it's not going to be plain sailing for him if the start doesn't necessarily go his way. Steve, after qualifying, I know, to be fair, obviously we have seen that Jack McIntyre with that performance. What are the thoughts? Who are you placing your bets on this evening?
The you'd place your bets on Jack McIntyre for a win in race 1. Although, as Dave pointed out in the interview there, he's sort of almost on the wrong side of the track for turn 1 for pole position, but he's going to have his nose in front, you would think, unless Robbie gets an absolute lightning start. If Robbie gets a lightning start and gets in front, then he's going to have to do a bit of hard defending, but I think the sensible money will still be on Jack McIntyre for first, and if Robbie stays out of trouble, Robbie for second for me. Third place is open, I think, because Jordan Brennan's there. You know, he's up there with Matt Richards as well, and Jordan's got everything to gain tonight by some good results as well, so it's going to be a good one. It's going to be interesting, but I think it's a difficult one to say for definite until this first corner's gone.
Exactly, very, very true. Dave, before we get going, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts for race 1?
I wouldn't like to be in Jack's position right now. That's what I'm thinking. You know, Robbie Stapleford's second in the championship. He's wanting to get going. Jack's in front of him. You know, if I was Jack, I'd be watching myself going at the hairpin. That's for sure.
Exactly. Well, we are about to find out. The lights are coming on, and in a few seconds, we're going to find out who is going to be leading going into turn 2. They are still on, and away we go for the last round of the VRRC League of Champions Porsche Challenge. All seems to be an even start, as we've got, I believe that is Jack McIntyre, Robert Stapleford going round the outside together. Big sideways moment for Jack, but he just manages to keep it on the track. We've got a car off in the background by the looks of it, but it's still showing that Jack McIntyre is still in the lead. Matt Richards, has actually got ahead. That was Matt Richards going on the outside of Jack McIntyre, so he has got a blinding start already up to in front of Stapleford, so that is not something that Stapleford is going to want. He's actually having to defend, by the looks of it, from Jordan Brennan as well. But at the moment, we can see another sideways moment. Tyres are cold, brakes are cold, everyone. So you've got to take it nice and easy for the first couple of laps while everything warms up. But already we've seen Jack has already pulled up about half a second just to Matt Richards, and a little bit more as well to Robbie Stapleford. So he is already pulling away. This is not what Robbie Stapleford wanted, is it, Steve?
No, absolutely not. I mean, Jack McIntyre got one of his trademark starts to match his pole position, and he's got away. But Matt Richards, what a start to come through and get into second place before the first corner. He was in a clear second before they hit that first corner. So whether Robbie Stapleford had a bit of a nightmare start, I'm not sure. But he's recomposed himself, he's gathered himself up, he's defended from Brennan and managed to pull a gap on Brennan now, and I think Stapleford's got his head down now and looking at the back of Richards to try and close up, but Richards is right on the back of McIntyre again now. He's really closed up, and Jack McIntyre at the moment isn't getting away.
No, very, very true. I don't know if we had a safety car, something come up. I believe we are, yeah, tyres are weaving, cars, everyone's weaving. So we've had a safety car. Obviously there was an incident further back down the field. We can actually see on board with Matt Richards now. We can see the safety car being deployed there, driven by the one and only Rich Hayden, who is the safety car driver for this championship. At the moment, I really almost don't want to say it because I don't want to be the commentator's curse, but through Matt's problems that he had at Thruxton with actually not being able to keep it on the track for most part of the race, he seems to have really got that under control, and whether it's just something that he liked Oulton Park or something like that, but yeah, what a start. I think, Dave, to be fair to say, it was actually a relatively clean start. Obviously, I know we have had that safety car deployed, which is going to bunch the field up, but I think it was only sort of the first 2/3 of the field. Nothing really happened there in terms of any incidents.
Yeah, so I mean, all I can say there is that just shows the standard of driving in the VRRC Championships. You know, Oulton Park, a notoriously narrow, bumpy track, in some of the hardest cars you can drive on the sim, and you know, we got 3/4 of the grid straight through without any incident, all clean, and provide some fantastic racing. Matt Richards really flew under the radar there a bit, didn't he? Put a great lap in quali to put him, I think it was P3 on the grid, and it must have been a hell of a start. I think we're just getting back underway actually here. So as you can see, Jack has absolutely left Matt there off the line.
He did indeed, yeah. Jack got the jump on Matt ever so slightly there, but to be fair, even that little bit of a jump, I think he actually went as soon as Matt risked it. And again, another big moment from Matt. We saw this a bit at Thruxton as well. Matt does tend to like using his rear tyres. That seems to be an R Factor 2 trait, I think, in the way that he drives the car. He's very, very tail happy, very aggressive on the throttle. So at the moment, Robbie Stapleford is trying to pressure him. He seems to be doing so at the moment. Jack has already pulled that gap. He's having a bit of a look, but Robbie Stapleford can't seem to get by. He's actually got to be careful for Jordan Brennan that potentially is going to make a move onto Stapleford. You've got another car off in the background. That looked to be Tempera that had a little bit of a moment there. Actually, no, apologies. That was Rob Walters, I think, was had a moment. So he's dropped down all the way to 16th, and he's going down further down the field. So big shame for him there. At the moment, single file. There's not really much in terms of overtaking at the moment. But yeah, Jack has just checked out 1.4 seconds in the space of 3/4 of a lap, Steve. Yeah, further down the field, it seems to be sort of single file at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone's benefited from that safety car, it's definitely Jack McIntyre. He just nailed the restart, and I think maybe just caught Matt Richards napping a little bit, maybe. But Matt Richards is now really having to look in his rear view and watch Stapleford. But equally, Stapleford's got Brennan in close attention as well. So it's definitely a 3-car battle for this second place. And 2 of those boys are at the top of the championship table at this moment in time. So they'll really be pushing hard to try and get past Matt Richards. But just seeing there as Max Bird getting all crossed up and going across the track from one side to the other, from grass to grass, but just managing to keep it under control, keep it on the track. And as Dave said, these cars are a real handful around here, and as we've mentioned already, they're so stiff that once they start to snap out from underneath you, they are very hard to bring back under control, aren't they, Dave?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, that there just really highlights Max Bird's car control, doesn't it? As I said, he's had a test session recently in one of these cars in real life, and he's just showed his class there. Huge tank slapper, big engine trying to put him in the barrier, and he's just held on to it beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they're just watching Stapleford in the middle of that 3-car battle, which, to be fair, they just seem to have opened up a little bit on each other. Maybe not quite as close as they could be, but I'm sure they're just regrouping and ready for another attack, as Stapleford won't have given up on Richards. And I think they've all pretty much got an equal pace. Stapleford has got Brennan now, who's closed right up on the back of him again into the braking zone. He's looking to try and put Stapleford under some pressure and maybe just force a mistake, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. I think at the moment, we actually said this before the start of the first race, that I think it was Dave that you alluded to, that Robbie, I don't think he's going to be potentially not that fussed in terms of this finishing position. Obviously, he'd like to be ahead of Matt Richards, and he'd like to be in P2, but that's going to be another position he's actually going to be ahead of Jack McIntyre for the race to reversal. We've just had, I believe that's Rob Butler, that's dropping right down the field there. He's just rejoined the track, as you can see, so big shame from him there. He's dropped down all the way into P14, so big shame for him there, as we've got Oliver and Carroll going side by side, going to Island hairpin. Seems to be getting it checked up. That was a very, very good move, a very good piece of driving from there, but I don't think so. That's be Andy Carroll is currently in 12th, and Oliver in P13. But this is the battle to watch at the moment. Yeah, a little bit tricky now to overtake. This is the main corners to overtake. Like I said, you've got Island Hairpin, potentially Druid's Corner as well. As you can see, these are 2 of the closest guys that are out on track at the moment. The gap only being 0.2 of a second. It's actually dropping down to be less than that. Is there going to be another move before going into turn 1? I don't think there will be. Again, it's very much single file through here. Dave, I suppose if you're in a position like this, what is going to be this? Are we actually going to get there? So we're going to have Oliver that's going to try and make a move into the last corner. He does indeed make that move stick. So he now goes up to P12. Very, very good move in there. Dave, what's the general sort of thought process, especially with Oulton Park being such a difficult track to overtake on? What is mainly the sort of thought process that you're going to have, especially if you're following a car you can't quite necessarily get past them? How do you sort of curb the frustration in a way?
So it's very much a case of, as we see, is he going to go for a move up the inside? That's brave, but Brendan, we had to see this side of him. Slightly more aggressive, making them passes, and he's done exactly that, getting past Robbie Stapleford. That was a hard move, but aggressive. And we're going to see Robbie going for the move into the chicane. He's going to tuck in because he doesn't want to lose that time on the front pack. Brendan really needs to get his head down here and trying to get on the back of second place, but I think that is fantastic race to see them race that hard and yet hold position and not really lose time. Fair play to them.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, to be fair, that on board was actually quite a good position. It looked to be Robbie Stapleford sort of, I don't know, from my perspective, it looked like Brennan had made the move. And then Robbie Stapleford just sort of drove him into the grass and the hairpin. That's what it looked like from my perspective. I could very well be wrong. But yeah, it just looked to be Robbie Stapleford just squeezed him a little bit too hard. But at the end of the day, the move was made, and no other instance apart from that. So yeah, Jordan Brennan has actually pulled away. He's already pulled at least a couple of tenths off of Stapleford. So at the moment, Stapleford, as he goes very, very wide indeed, that's a dangerous move there. You don't want to be going too wide out on the exit of turn 1. And I believe Brennan is actually catching up to Matt Richards. This is the battle now for P15. This is McConomy and Walters. Obviously, Rob, after his little incident that's dropped him down the field. But at the moment, having a very, very good battle. Going to try and go side by side. That was very, very brave by both drivers there, but they just managed to get through. And Rob Walters and McConomy, they don't seem to make any positions. So they stay where they are in P15 and P16, respectively. The gap at the moment, though, as we've just gone, I was actually about to say, so Andy Carroll and Butler, Rob Butler has actually dropped a little bit. It's not, actually, the gap has extended a bit. It was a couple of tenths of a second when we last looked. It's now 3/10 of a second, but this is the main one. Again, 2/10 of a second separate Oliver and Dorman. This is going to be a very, very good race. And at the moment, Steve, there's no signs of either driver letting up the battle here.
Absolutely not. It's all about applying the pressure, keeping the pressure on, and trying to force that mistake, or just force your opponent to leave the door open ever so slightly for you, so you can get down the inside, round the outside, whatever which way you can, but you can get past. And certainly they're running in very close attention there, as Oliver really closed up on Dorman under the brakes. I don't think you could have got many pieces of paper between the two bumpers then, but some great driving from both drivers to be able to drive that close together, and no contact made whatsoever there. So fantastic stuff, and really keeping the pressure on, keeping that gap around about the same. It's all within half a second. It's just stretched out ever so slightly now, but it's still within half a second, and Oliver's still trying hard, and they are, I believe, actually now closing up maybe on the cars in front as well.
Yeah, potentially. So this battle could develop in the next 9.5 minutes. At the moment, is it going to be worth Oliver actually sitting back because they're catching up with the guys ahead? Is it worth a move not being made and see if they can make some more positions? Although he is very, very close. So is there going to be a move to be had? He has a look. He actually does try and make the move up the inside, and he's going to do it. What a cracking bit of driving from Oliver there. So makes the move on Dorman up into P11. That was a very, very clean and well executed move there. A little bit of contact in the end, but that's just one of those things, especially when you're trying to overtake in the hairpin there. Dave, that's definitely one of the moves that some of the best moves I've seen, especially around Oulton Park. You don't normally see an overtake being made through that chicane.
Yeah, that might have been a bit of a brown trouser moment for me, that one, I think. That was a bit narrow, but very, very fair play move. As we see, Jordan Brennan just set the fastest lap of the race. So are we seeing him trying to make a move on Matt Richards here? He's got that gap within a second now. He's putting the pressure on. He's not letting go of this championship yet, Dan.
No, he's not. Very, very true. He is not letting go at all. So we're going to see how we're going to... But at the moment, we're going to ride on board with Walters on Economy. This is still the battle for P15. At the moment, Walters can't find a way through, although he is trying very, very hard. As you can see, the car is squaring about all over the place. Drops a little bit of time, but he's very, very confident on the brakes. We see McConomy go a little bit wide as well. Cracking camera angle this. I really like seeing these camera angles. Is he going to try and make the move? McConomy just sticking his car in the middle of the track, which is absolutely what you want to do, because the track is just not wide enough. If you do stick a car in the middle of the track, it's very, very hard to overtake. Getting a little bit crossed over on the exit of the island hairpin. But at the moment, he's dropped back a little bit, but this is still a battle that's going to be raging on. I can imagine for the next 7.5 minutes, as I said, he gets very, very close. Walters is mega on the brakes, isn't he, Steve?
Absolutely, yeah, really closing up on the brakes there, and literally making you a sharp intake of breath there. But I was the same, mate. It was almost like you thought it was going to run into the back of him, but he had everything under control, and it's just he's a wizard on those brakes, it would appear. But just while these two are following each other so closely, Dave said Brennan's now within half a second of Richards, and obviously he was behind Stapleford, and he just made that decision that he had a lot more speed than Stapleford. He needed to get past. He's done that, and now he's on the back of Richards. So is he going to be making a move on Richards in the next sort of lap or two? I think he will be. I think the way that gap's come down, he's got a lot more speed than Richards. But just while we're looking at Walters now again from this onboard, he's really, really pressing McConomy, but McConomy's soaking up that pressure. As you can just see on the picture-in-picture there, we've got Brennan and that gap now to Richards, which is nothing. It's all visible there. Stapleford, to be fair to him, he's trying to hang on, he's pushing hard, But he just needs to really bring it home where he is, Stapleford, without pushing too hard. Doesn't want to make any mistakes. He wants to think about the big picture, which is the championship. Yes, Brennan's ahead of him in the championship, but this championship, let's not forget, it's not just about the Porsches. It's the whole package. It is the race of champions, as it were. They've got many disciplines to race, many different cars to come yet. So he just needs to keep accumulating the points and not make any silly mistakes. Yeah,
very, very true. I said it's all to play for. Like, it is not just this championship here. It is all the remaining 3 championships, the remaining 3 series for the race of champions. I actually noticed as well that I believe it was Martin Johnson who moved down. He dropped. He was running in P9, doing very, very, very good job. He unfortunately dropped down to P16, I think. So a little bit of a shame there from him. But at the moment, Walter still he still cannot find a way past McConaughey. So it's a very, very close battle this is. We've got 5.5 minutes left to go. Is he going to try and set himself up? He's getting very, very close. We're just going to switch now to Matt Richards looking back on Jordan Brennan. The gap has stayed about where it is, between 3 and 4 tenths, I suppose, at this point as well, Dave. I suppose at the moment Jordan will be just lining up, trying to see where he's a little bit quicker. I mean, at the moment we have seen that at the moment Brennan is just quicker than Richards pretty much everywhere around the track. But I can just imagine he's just pressuring Matt a little bit, trying to set the move up. I think he knows he's not going to be able to catch Jack. So he needs to try and really set himself up to get P2 potentially in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, so I mean, I wonder whether this is maybe Matt's tyres are starting to fade, or whether Jordan's just got the clear air and he's really starting to stretch his legs. We saw Jordan had the time in practice. He was lapping incredibly quick up with Jack's lap times. But Matt Richards, as I said, threw a bit of cat amongst the pigeons there. It was a bit like out the blue lap, and he's really, putting his stamp on this race. But yeah, Jordan really needs to just keep his focus here. It's incredibly hard to follow around this track. It's that twisty and narrow, 1 metre offline, and you'd be hitting the face of a curb, and you've lost all that advantage you've tried the past 6 laps to gain. So yeah, if Jordan just, as we see Jordan spin, that's Brennan spun. That's a nightmare for the championship. But it's not all that lost, because in second race, that's only going to put him further ahead of Jack. So if he can keep his head in the game here, put some solid laps in and keep in 6th place, then it's not all that's lost, and we'll see what he can do in race 2.
Yeah, very true. I mean, to be fair, while it potentially will give him a benefit going into race 2, I'm sure that was not a tactical spin there. But yes, that has promoted him. That will promote him up for race 2. But yeah, a bit of a shame that's actually promoted. And to be fair, this is good. And we see that's someone else spun. I'm not entirely sure who that is. That's Carroll. Yeah. So Carroll's had a spin as well. Obviously, the battle that he was having further up the field. So he has now, unfortunately, had a spin. He's dropped down now into P16. Yeah, I think, while not a tactical move, with that spin there, it has promoted Stapleford up. So this is what Stapleford wanted. He wanted that free position. He's just gone, thank you very much. He's now been promoted back into P3. At the moment, I don't think he's got the pace. Edmondson as well. I'm just looking at Edmondson's pace. Last lap was a 121.6. His actually last lap there, as I say, that the best lap was 121.5. He's still 2 tenths off of Robbie in terms of fastest lap, but he did pull 3 tenths on Stapleford. So again, we've got 2.5 minutes, or just under 3 minutes left. I don't know if anything's going to be happening apart from that. But again, Walter's trying every way to get round McConaughey, but he can't seem to quite do it. I suppose, Steve, at this point in the race, Stapleford is going to be, at the moment, just wanting at the moment to say, look, let the race end now. I'll take 3rd and, try and compose yourself for race 2 now.
Yeah, very much. I mean, that's what I was alluding to, a few moments ago when I said, Stapleford maybe didn't quite have the pace of those 2 in front of him, but he just needed to keep going, keep it clean, and bring the car home and not make any mistakes. And that's exactly what Brennan did, and he made a mistake pushing that a little bit too hard. They're never going to stop pushing that. They're racing for points. They're going to push as hard as they can, but Brennan just overcooked it, and we found him spinning on the grass, and Stapleford's inherited that 3rd place. Thank you very much. I'll bring that home where I am, and he's got nothing to lose now, and he's gained the place, so he's just got to bring it home, Stapleford, and it's going to do his championship the world of good. Keep him up there at the sharp end. Looks like McIntyre, this is his race now to lose with 1 minute 45 seconds to go, plus a lap. So he's Jack McIntyre's in the the prime seat now with a 5.5 second lead over Richards. Stapleford's 2 seconds back from Richards, so I think the top three now are just going to play the sensible game probably and just concentrate on bringing those cars home. I don't think anyone's going to be trying to catch anyone out of those three now. It's all about just finishing race 1 and getting on with race 3 for those guys. Race 2, sorry, for those guys.
Very, very true. But at the moment, the battle's still raging on. This is the battle to watch. We're just now riding on board with Walters. Again, he still can't quite find a way. But how frustrated must he be with seeing the back of this Porsche for the last 10 minutes or so? Because he just can't quite make a move. You see, again, McConomy taking a really defensive line, while at the moment it seems to be working for him. It's a really unorthodox line. I never thought you'd be really trying to go that defensive. I suppose, yes, he's going to be trying to defending from Walters, but I don't think Walters was really in a position where he's going to make that move. So as I say that, for some reason, we're going to try and... Wow, Walters trying to go around the outside. I think you can start to see the frustration visibly in the driving. Dave, would you not agree, especially with a move trying to go on the outside like that?
Yeah, that's him just trying to, he's probably tried every overtake that you would sort of think about doing, and now he's maybe just trying to be a bit more creative and think, is this a place where we can try and do it? Oh, as we're seeing, get a huge tank slapper coming out. That's a big shunt. That I would be surprised if his car keeps going after that one. That is a big shame. But this is throwing it out there, but I think I've worked out the point standing as is. So that's with Jordan finishing in 6th, with Robbie in 3rd and Jack in 1st. So it would actually give Jack the championship lead going into race 2 by 2 points over Robbie Stapleford, by 4 points over Jordan Brennan. So that there really isn't anything in the points going into race 2, but then obviously Jordan Brennan is going to have that track place advantage.
This is the thing as well. This is the key. Track position, especially around somewhere like Oulton Park, is something that's going to play a big factor. We're just having a look as well. Max Bird and Max Edmondson, the two Maxes that are going around at the moment, they're very, very close indeed. It looks to be trying to make a move, but I don't think we can quite manage it at the moment. But as we see there, so Jack McIntyre, he is going to go and take race 1 victory for the last round at Oulton Park in the VRRC League of Champions Porsche Challenge.
Yeah, he's just on the last lap now.
Apologies. So we've just been told that Max Bird just had the wall. That was what we were seeing on the main screen there. So apologies, I was too focused on the last lap that's happening for Jack McIntyre. So one more lap to go. Yeah, Jack, I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself. Yeah, that was Max Bird, unfortunately. Has dropped a position. He's actually now promoted Jordan Brennan up to P5. So this is also going to alter the points as well. So again, it's not only that the drivers that are battling, especially with, you've got Jack, Stapleford and Brennan, who are in the title contention, but any other drivers that promote them in terms of like falling off or crashing or having incidents, then that's obviously going to play a part as well. We see Max Bird having another big moment there. So this is all of a sudden going to be a battle. This is going to be very, very quickly battle for P6. And we're seeing that this is all kicking off now on the last lap. And I think Max Bird is going to lose a position. I'm guessing the damage, Steve, is going to be hurting that car quite considerably.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes if you pick up some substantial damage, which that was quite a big crash, the car characteristics change very, very quickly. And even though you can carry on, sometimes it can take you a lap or two to actually get used to the car and to get back into that rhythm. As we're just watching Jack McIntyre now come over the finish line to take a very dominant race 1 victory. And I think if Dave's points calculations are right, he's taken the championship lead with that victory.
I know exactly. So yeah, Jack McIntyre taking that win for race 1 in terms of, like I said, a confidence boost. That's really given him something to work with. We've got Oliver going to round it out in P8 with Tempera in P9 and Dorman in P10. That's a very, very close battle. That seemed to close up. At the moment, we've got Fairclough and that is Butler as well. They're going to be trying to drag race to the line. But at the moment, Butler in 11th and Fairclough in 12th position. Further down the field as well. This is quite a close little battle as well. So that is Johnson, Carroll and Walters. So there's some pretty close racing all throughout the field as well. So it wasn't just, as we have seen, in some recent races where we have seen it in the previous rounds, we saw it was sort of like maybe battles more so at the front. There's battles still happening all throughout the field as well, which is really, really good to see again, especially for us as commentators, Dave. It gives us plenty of action to commentate on.
Yeah, actually, a driver that's really stood out there you know, at the start of the championship, we saw Fairclough's name relatively near the bottom of race 1, and he's really bringing himself up into that top 10 contention. I did happen to notice he was up into 6th place at the start of the race, so whether he had a slight spin or a slight tap, you know, he dropped down low at the grid, but he's managed to pull himself back up to 12th place. So incredibly good drive from Will there. We'll wait and see what he can bring to race 2. You know, he's starting nearer the front. You know, this could be a really good top 10 finish for him.
No, exactly. No, that's one thing. It's good to see the drivers develop as well. It's really good to see the drivers that develop as the season progresses. But there we are. So provisionally, your race 1 results. You got McIntyre, who takes the win. Richards in P2, Stapleford in P3, which I'm sure he'll be very excited about and very happy about. Edmondson P4, Brennan P5, O'Farrell P6, Bird P7, Oliver P8, Tempera P9, and Dorman rounding out the top 10. Just been informed that we do have some people in the commentators booth ready to be interviewed. Steve, Dave, do you want to go down and have a chat with those guys?
Yeah, I'll go down with Dave. No worries.
That's that.
Spot on.
That was.
Good evening, gentlemen, and well done on race 1. We're going to go to Jack McIntyre first. Jack, pretty dominant victory in the end. Before the safety car came out, it looked like Matt was going to try and cling on to you on lap 1, and he was in very close attention as you crossed the start-finish line. But then obviously the safety car came out, and on the restart of the safety car, you had over where you just jumped it, you just went. Yeah, I mean the gap extended and didn't look ever like you were going to lose it. It was pretty much go to plan that race for you, Jack.
Well, yeah, pretty much spot on. Had a bit of a moment coming out of turn 1, and then Matt was real close as well, so it was a bit hairy for a little while, but managed to get ahead, and then the safety car kind of reset things, so I just kind of calmed myself down and just got into the groove, and good race.
Yeah, it's well done, mate. You just did what you needed to do, didn't you? Like you said in the qualifying interview there, you didn't have a fantastic result last week, but that's a fantastic start for this week's racing. Obviously race 2 coming back through the field. What's the tactics for Oulton Park? Is it steady away, just pick them off one by one, or is it Raging Bull full charge?
Well, you got to see where the opportunities come up. It's a tricky track to drive, let alone pass. So I just got to see what happens. This one's going to be the most important race, I think, with Robbie and Jordan still scoring good points there. So I don't know what the points are now. I don't really want to know, if I'm honest. But just got to go for it and see what we can do.
Well, I think my friend and your friend Dave probably can update us on the points if we want him to, Dave.
I can, but no, I'll leave it for now. You know, certain drivers like to know them, certain drivers just like to drive with a clear head. So it's only fair that I'll let Jack, just drive his own race. I've got to quickly talk to Matt. What the world did you put in your car off the line there? You just seemed to jump Jack like he'd left his handbrake on.
I think I just managed to get the right clutch point, and that was it. She just flew off.
It was an incredibly good start. I mean, I obviously know you and Jack are both on the same sim team through Zancho Esports, or Zancho Sim Sport, should I say. Is that playing at all into how aggressive you are with Jack, or are you driving for yourself here and really trying to get the win?
I'd say a bit of both, really, being a bit mindful of Jack's position. But, I mean, it all comes down to where we are at the end of the race. There's 19 minutes before the last couple of laps, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I'm really impressed. I mean, you're not one of the drivers who spends lap after lap practicing, but you seem to rock up in quali, have a few sketchy laps, put a few good ones together at the end, and then put yourself second on the grid. So, incredibly impressive drive, Matt. Good luck in second race, and we might see you on the podium.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, nice one, Matt. And like Dave said, absolute lightning start, and well done. And let's see that again in race 2. Robbie Stapleford, mate, coming off the back of a double win last week. Obviously, Matt got you on the start there with his lightning reflexes. He didn't have a bad race there, buddy. I mean, it was a sort of a championship drive, as it were, just scoring the points, not pushing too hard, not making too many mistakes, and just bringing it home. Are you reasonably happy with that?
Yeah, very happy. Didn't have the pace to keep up with Matt and Jack, so just had to stay where I was and not make any mistakes.
Yeah, pretty much. That's just what you did, wasn't it? And obviously, Jordan Brennan just made that mistake and gifted you the third place. Realistically, you weren't far behind from them, but it didn't look like you did quite had that pace to catch them. So I think third place was maybe just gifted to you a little bit there. But you'll take anything anyone throws at you at the moment, won't you, for them extra points?
Yeah, it'll score better points than what I was going to anyway. So
Absolutely, mate. Well done. And again, obviously, you're in front of Jack. On the reverse grid, which is going to play into your hands for a bit for the championship. So it'll be eyes forward and try and make up those positions before you're having to look in the mirror too much and defend from Jack, maybe.
yeah, just got to keep Jack behind me as long as I can. So
absolutely, mate. Well done and good luck for race 2.
Yeah, thank you.
Boys, thank you very much.
There we go. That was the top 3 for race 1. We're actually getting ready to jump on board. We're actually getting ready to start race 2 as well. Reverse for the top 12. Obviously, this is as well, bear in mind. So Jack, at the moment, in terms of starting position, is on back foot with Stapleford and Brennan actually having, in terms of, better track position for race 2. Potentially, though, doesn't necessarily mean much. We're going to find out in a second. I think, Dave, what's Jack thinking at this point, do you reckon?
I mean, I can tell you now, Jack currently has the championship lead. So Robbie Stiltford's behind on 3 points and Jordan's back on 4 points. So it's not really enough of a buffer to go into this and go and chill out. If he sees Jordan gain 1, 2, 3 cars up ahead, he's going to be thinking, that championship's starting to go, I need to get through the pack. But look who's on the front row of the grid. Will Fairclough, a standout drive from race 1. Let's see what happens.
Indeed, we're about to find out in a second. The lights are on and they're about to go off, and they do, and we are away. Mega start there from what you could see the car physically just dart off the line. A mega start. He's already pulled out at least 2 or 3 tenths of a second. That's really, really good. We've got a couple of side-by-side action going. There's a big incident there. I wonder if we're going to see a safety car. I would not be surprised if we didn't. But at the moment, Fairclough has just disappeared of race 1. So you've got Butler in P2, a second behind already. And further down the field, we've got Brennan that's promoted up to P6. We've got Jack McIntyre still in P12. So he's not really had the best of starts, probably not the one that he wanted. We've got some side-by-side action going between, I believe that is Bird and O'Farrell. Some side-by-side going into the island hairpin. Are we going to see a safety car? I'm not entirely sure. But again, throughout the field, it's pretty very, very clean. We are seeing some big gaps already pulled up. I'm guessing, obviously, that is due to the incident that we saw at the start, going through turn 1. Steve, Will had just disappeared.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, it was a cracking start there, wasn't it? And just not quite sure who was involved in that incident. In the opening few sectors there, but it certainly split the field up. But yeah, McIntyre, like I say, hadn't really had a chance to make up any ground, but neither had Stapleford. So be good to keep a close eye on those two. Because I think, to be fair, in all honesty, Robbie's going to have one eye forward, one eye backwards, because I don't think it'll be, Jack's certainly going to put a lot of pressure on him to try and get past him, because as Robbie said, he hasn't quite got the pace around Oulton Park, and he's sort of driving for the championship, as it were, and he's just basically trying to keep things clean and just keep it all on track and score as many points as he can.
Very true.
Yeah, safety car is deployed now.
Yeah, safety car has been deployed, so that is going to bunch the field up. So again, drivers straight away, you can actually see already visibly trying to keep the tyres warm, keep the brakes warm, and to keep those eating those tyres, because a restart is going to be absolutely crucial to get a good restart. I've just noticed, and so Brennan currently in P6. So at the moment, he is currently on the front foot in terms of the race. It's a shame for Will, who we're just riding on board with now. Again, just trying desperately to keep as much heat as he can into those front tyres. Dave, I suppose Brennan at this point is just thinking, thank you very much. He's going to want to be trying to move forward as best he can.
Yeah, I mean, this, to be fair, this is when you start to know who your friends on the grid are. There's some drivers that, want to defend their place with everything they can, and some drivers that know the score with the championship, they know which drivers are battling, and some drivers will make it easier for you to get through. I know Jordan Brennan and Max Edmondson, they practice together, as we see Max there getting sideways in front of Jordan. The good mates, whether Max will defend this too hard or whether he'll try and push for higher up in the grid, we'll wait and see. But I'd imagine Jordan, will be reasonably relaxed following Max, knowing what he's going to do. But yeah, Jack will be looking at this going, Jordan's up the road here. Like, there's a lot of cars between us. That's now Jordan with the championship lead. But this is the last thing Will Fairclough want to see. You know, what a start. Must have pulled. Oh,
No!
as I say that, he's just binned it coming off the curb. Hopefully he can get out the way for the other people coming through. But that you can just see there, just lost the back end onto the curb. Car snapped him before you know he's in the wall. So that's guttering for Will there. But Rob Butler, here we go. Safety car's in. Clear track. Let's see what he can do.
Exactly. I suppose, again, Jordan Brennan's going to be thinking, well, I don't think Jordan Brennan's going to be... is not going to be quarrelling at another free position. That was a big shame. Again, it's just, you've got to be so careful, especially with these Porsche Cup cars. They are darty to drive at the best of times, let alone when you have got when you've got cold tyres and cold brakes. So yeah, at the moment, Butler trying to just defend from O'Farrell for all his life, but he is pulling up, and we see now this is the battle for, I'm guessing this is P10, so this is Robbie Stapleton and Jack McIntyre. Jack is going to try and go around the outside of very defensive driving. Jack is a little bit sideways on the exit, but still manages to keep the car in check, so no position made there at the moment. So Stapleford still in P10, Jack in P11. You can see Robbie is defending for all of his life. He's got to be careful though, because I think these guys both have the pace to get at the moment to work their way up the field a little bit. So it's all sort of bunching up though, and as I say that, we've got, I believe, Johnson and Oliver that are going to be going side by side going into the latter half of the lap. There's a big accident there. That was very close. That was Toth Jones. That was so I dare to think how close that was to taking out Jack McIntyre there. That was very close indeed. But Steve, yeah, I think this battle is actually going to start sort of bunching all the cars up. So I don't know if Jack McIntyre is going to be trying to sort of capitalise on it, or what he's able to do, because as we know, it's very difficult to overtake around it.
Yeah, and it looks like Stapleford's managed to put a car in between him and Jack for a few moments at least, and give himself a little bit of breathing room, and he's off up the road now in 8th place with Sutton in between himself and McIntyre still in 10th. So yeah, Stapleford's giving himself the best chance he can at the moment. As we're saying that, looks like McIntyre's managed to get through the inside of Sutton there, and he's lost a bit of time to Stapleford, but he's got the pace, so I'm sure he'll make that up, and Stapleford's now closing in on Johnson and Oliver, who are battling quite hard in front of him now.
Yeah, indeed. We just got that was Jack McIntyre going very wide. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I believe that was Matt Richards, who tried to make a very daring lunge, shall we say, going through. Just missed his braking mark ever so slightly, and that's actually pushed Jack. To be fair to Jack, he reacted very well. He saw that happening a mile off, and then obviously reacted very quickly. But that's dropped him down another position, so he's back in 10th place. And there's a gap still between himself and Robbie Stapleton. I believe there was actually Mick Sutton that had that very aggressive lunge going through, so my apologies. But we're just running on board now. Currently on the main focus of the screen is Jordan Brennan in P5 at the moment, not needing to do very much. I think at the moment he's just trying to see where he can do in terms of track position, what he's going to do in terms of any other overtaking opportunities. He's got Edmondson in front of him, and as we know, Edmondson is a very hard but fair racer. So again, I don't know, could Brennan just be thinking at this point, Dave, that he's just trying to back off and let the race almost come to him in a way, and just see how it goes? We've just been, that was O'Farrell that's had a moment as well going out of the exit at turn 1. He's still in the barrier there, but that's actually now promoted Jordan Brennan up to P4, but it also has as well promoted to Staple up to P7 and McIntyre into P9.
Well, the race is just coming to Jordan here, isn't it? You know, he's working his way through the positions. Front drivers are starting to drop off, and Jordan's just climbing places without actually having to really go that aggressive at all. It's worth bearing in mind that the way the point system work, you know, it's only worth 1 point difference up to 5th place. Then once you start to get above 5th, that's where you start getting the 2 or 3 or 4 gap. The 2 and 3 gap points in the system. So, you know, where Jordan's sitting at the moment, he'll actually just about get the championship. So we'll wait and see. Matt Richards is ahead of Jack McIntyre here. Whether we'll, as I said, they're both part of the same SimSport team, as he has a massive moment there, as we see. That was going through Druid's corner. I believe Matt Richards has just put it on the grass there, and Jack's got another place. So Jack's now up in 8th place. You know, this has just shown this is what it takes to win a championship. It's about keeping it on the road, keeping it together, and bringing it home.
Absolutely, yeah. That was again, like I said, not a tactful move there from from Matt Richardson. So he's dropped all the way down into P15. He's actually going to drop another position into P16. So Laramie's just overtaken him as well. So I don't know how damaged his car is, but that could very well be the optimum lap time for Matt Richards done and dusted. So Jordan Brennan up to P4. Jack McIntyre now promoted into P7. He seems to have got the move already made on Johnson there. So he is motoring along, now only one position away from Robbie Stapleford, as you can see there. Currently riding now on board with Jordan Brennan. So he's got still Max Emerson in front of him. And again, like I said, at this point, he doesn't really need to do much more than he is already doing. Okay, he's probably got a little bit more pace in him. I'm sure he has. Maybe he's saving it for the latter half of the race, just in case he does need to sort of get the hammer down and try and overtake. So I'm sure conservation of tyres are going to be there as well. But I suppose at the moment, what he needs to do as well, and we have seen before, cars do indeed decide that they don't want to be a part of the track anymore. And we have seen that previously. So I don't know, is Brennan going to make any more positions just by actually keeping it on the track, Steve?
I think he's driving the sensible race, as we've alluded to saying already. I think he's watching the guys in front. He's putting the laps in. He's keeping in close attention within that half a second mark of those guys. Just waiting in case there are any mistakes. Let them fight it out. He can see he'll know that Stapleford's a position off him and about 5 or 6 seconds back as well. And Stapleford's going to have his hands full with McIntyre very shortly as well anyway, so I don't think he's got anything to worry about from his championship contenders at the moment, his rivals, but he's just doing the sensible thing, and you see him there, he's on the back of them, but he's pushing, they know he's there, but he's not going to make any silly moves, I don't think, because you'd have to ask yourself, if he can win the championship from there, why would he put himself in the middle of these guys and put himself at risk, because we know how wrong it can go, how quickly it can go wrong.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Although we're saying, this battle is actually very quickly, because this is the leading 4 cars, and the gap is about 5.5 seconds to Oliver in 5th position. So this battle is actually very quickly becoming the battle for P1. So Jordan Brennan may almost be forced into a move where he has to try and make up some positions. We're also seeing as well, so Stapleford, Jack McIntyre, the gap is now 4/10 of a second away. It's actually under 4/10 of a second. So McIntyre is really on the move. So yeah, it could very well be, Dave, that Brennan is actually forced to try and race and try and make some more positions up.
Yeah, well, I think Jordan's going to be even more pressure now to get this pass done, because Jack's just put in the fastest lap of the race. So obviously there's another point going to Jack McIntyre. So that then actually puts Jack up into an equivalent 6th position, which then will put them tied on championship points, which obviously Jack's had more wins, so Jack will get the championship. So Jordan really needs to try and get these moves done, get through the pack. But I think he'll know he'll have the pace here, but he obviously just doesn't want to take the chance of, getting binned off by a driver or overdriving the car and binning himself.
I know it's a really tricky situation that Brennan is in at the moment. As we say this, Rob Butler has almost sort of got the hammer down and has put a little bit more pace on it. We've had Bird and Edmondson that have been racing and they've been holding each other up a little bit. So Rob Butler is taking this opportunity to gap ever so slightly. But as I say that, the gaps now have opened up ever so slightly. So it's almost a concertina effect that's quite drastic, actually. We had at the start of this lap, all the cars were very, very close together, and now they've sort of separated ever so slightly. But again, we've got Brennan very, very late on the brakes. Actually goes probably a little bit too deep. And as we've got there, that is, I believe that's Stapleford. Yeah, they've both got to head. I'm not entirely sure who they've got ahead. Sorry,
they got ahead of Oliver. I'm not sure if he made a mistake, because literally they both went past him in one go. So whether he ran wide or just succumbed to the pressure and Stapleford went through and McIntyre followed, not quite sure. But again, that puts maybe, as Dave was saying, with the fastest lap for McIntyre, that just puts Brennan under a little bit more pressure now, albeit they're 6 seconds behind. But points-wise, it's maybe advantage McIntyre at this moment in time. But yeah, Brennan's right on the tail of the front guys. So he's playing the sensible game. He's waiting for an opportunity, but McIntyre now is really pushing Stapleford, and I don't think he's going to wait for an opportunity. I think Jack's probably going to try and force a mistake from Stapleford, and maybe force him to leave the door open somewhere and get a move done on him, because he's, as we saw in race 1, and as we've seen how fast Jack's caught up to Stapleford, he's certainly got the pace on him. So it's just, I think it's a matter of time. 7 minutes, just over 7 minutes left for Jack to do. That's a long time for Stapleford to try and keep him behind.
Yes, very, very true. But at the moment, the battle's raging on for P1, so Butler has dropped back a little bit. So now Max Bird is only a tenth and a half away. They're going to try and go too wide going through into the last corner. They just about managed to keep it all on the track together, and Rob Butler's still managing to stay in pole. But Edmondson has got past Max Bird, so he's been promoted up to P2. And as I say that, we've got now Max Bird that's going to try and make the move back going into turn 1. I think he has made the move stick. He does indeed. So he's now gone back up into P2. At the moment, Jordan Brennan, I think, he's waiting for that moment. I think he probably could have capitalised on that a little bit sooner and potentially capitalised on another position gained there if he'd have just popped his nose up the inside. But again, he's trying to play the cautious game. He doesn't want to make too many mistakes. He doesn't want to make too many moves that could potentially cost him what is at the moment a very, very potential chance. And as I say that, he has got up the inside of Max Edmondson. So he is now up to P3. And this is now, Dave, a pivotal... I'm sure you're doing maths currently in your head at the moment, so I'll leave it to it for a second. But yeah, I think this is a pivotal point.
Just to point out, though, Dan, I mean, when you look at the timings, Jordan Brennan is under pressure to make some moves because Stapleford and McIntyre are lapping over a second a lap faster than these guys. So they are catching us. We see Brennan making another move there into second place. So he's doing what he needs to do. He's been playing the watching brief, hasn't he? As a leader, that's Butler's binned it and gone off big time. So that is now Jordan Brennan in the lead of this race. Oh my, how fast things can change.
Wow. So Brennan's just gone from P4 to leading in the space of about what? I mean, a third of a lap, 2/3 of a lap. That is, as you say, Steve, that is how quickly can that change. I can imagine McIntyre is just sitting there, look at the timing screens going, what on earth has happened there?
That has just gone from advantage. McIntyre sat there thinking, Jackal, if he was doing any calculations, he didn't want to know the points in the interview, so maybe he's not quite aware, but it was definitely advantage McIntyre to now advantage Brennan, definitely, I would say, unless Dave's done those quick calculations in his head.
Yeah, by a point.
No.
The championship is down to a point, so what Jack needs to do here is needs to get past Robbie Stapleford.
Robbie's wide.
He'll be gifted the championship.
This is going to be so close. Is he going to quite do it? He doesn't quite get the drive going out of the island hairpin. This is so close. I can hardly contain my excitement. It's really weird. So now I start getting the higher pitched squeak. So do step in, chaps, if I do start doing that. But as we've got a spin there, that was Butler again. So his race has gone from bad to worse. So he's dropped down into P7 and further down the field. And he's dropping ever so. So he may even drop down into P10. He seems to be, at the moment, stable in P8. But yeah, Jack McIntyre, 3/10 away from Robbie Stapleford, who at the moment, this is a move that needs to be done. I'm sure, though, that even though Jack knows that he doesn't necessarily know the point, I'm sure he knows at this position he needs to make this move. He's got 4 minutes left to do it. And I think if the time is ever, it's going to be now, because the gap is only 2.5 of a second. Is he going to get the run down? You can already see Stapleford already going on the defensive line, going into turn 1. Again, trying to make Jack, but he's so late on the brakes, catching up a little bit. Oh, I think, Dave, this is going to be so close. If the move is going to be made, where do you reckon it's going to be done?
Well, I hate to say it, I think I've actually just made a calculating error. Jordan actually has this by 2 points. So even if Jack was to make this move, I'm not sure. It might be tied. This is going to come down to the wire. I will work it out before the end. I will work it out, promise, boys.
Well, okay. I mean, to be fair, so at the moment, it is just... Yeah, wow, it's too close to call. This has been so excited. And we love these sort of races. We love these sort of championships that comes down to that absolute wire. But at the moment, so McIntyre, again, he's actually dropped off a bit. He's dropped off 2/10. So Brennan just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Potentially, though, again, you've got Max Edmondson and Max Bird. They are very close together, only half a second, and they've got 3 minutes left. Are we going to see another potential move, and are we going to see another potential incident? Actually, as we have seen, because they have been coming thick and fast for these races. We've got McIntyre out of Druid. He's got a very good, flashing furiously at Robbie Stapleford. Still can't quite get the move done, but he is so late. He's very close indeed. 1/10.5 is the gap now, and I think, actually, to be fair, Stapleford may have held him up a little bit here. And as I say that, 1/10.5 is the gap. Is there going to be a move made into turn 1? I don't think there is. Again, Jack can't quite get the move done, although he is very he's pressuring Stapleford so heavily. And as I said, that's going to be too wide going down. That's so. How these guys haven't made a contact, I don't know, Steve, because this is just
No, absolutely. And the thing is, these guys, even though they're battling, McIntyre and Stapleford are still lapping just about 3/4 of a second faster than Edmondson and Bird ahead. That gap is coming down. So I'm not sure, 2 minutes left to go, whether, unless the guys in front make a mistake, I don't think they're going to come into play. But there is every possibility that a mistake up ahead could change things around just a bit further back as well.
I've just worked out, Steve, if he gets Robbie Stapleford, it isn't enough. He has to finish third place to win. For fourth place, it is 13 points. He currently has fastest lap, which is 14 points. First place gets 20 points, but Jordan Brennan is 4 points behind Jack in the championship. So he has to finish third to win this championship. I hope I'm right there. I hope I just haven't ruined everything up there. But yes, I believe if Robbie Stapleford holds this, it's going to be very close between Robbie and Jack for the title. But Jordan will have the championship.
This is going to be so close. But now we've got, I think, Robbie Stapleford a bit of a moment on the last corner. Round the outside goes Jack McIntyre, and he's made that move stick. As we've got there, we've got two more people off. We've got the guys up ahead. I don't know who that is. Is that someone? That could have very well been a back marker. I think it was indeed. So at the moment, Jack McIntyre has already pulled 2/10 on Robbie Stapleford. A mega move around the outside. Just goes to show the confidence that Jack McIntyre had with that car going to turn one. So yes, this is now the person that is in Jack McIntyre's sights. The gap has already come down 2/10 of a second to 1.1. With the pace that Jack has got, this is something that's not actually over yet. He's managed to get the move done, although there is going to be potentially 2 more laps. It depends when Brennan finishes the next lap. There could very well be at least 1, potentially 2. And I think if it is 2 laps, the gap has already come down another 0.3 of a second. So I mean, again, Steve, what is going to happen? We just don't know.
I just haven't got the crystal ball out. I'm afraid I don't know what's going to happen, because I'm not prepared to write anything off at this moment in time, because Super Jack is on the charge, and if he gets that third place in this race, this is the race of the season and the drive of the season from Jack McIntyre, because let's not forget, he tripped up over a few cars at the beginning of the race, had a couple of little setbacks, and he's kept his head down, and he's just, I won't say he's charged through. He's taken his opportunities when they're presented. He's made some opportunities, as he did with Stapleford there, following him for so long. And I think he created a bit of a mistake from Stapleford to run wide. And now he's using his raw pace to really close up on Edmondson. And that gap is now down to, well, it's within striking distance. He's almost close enough to have a go, and they've got another lap, I believe, after this one. So he's got every opportunity to get that third place. And Dave's tapping his feet as we're talking, because he's on the edge of his seat, and he's just wondering if he's got those points calculations correct.
I am. I wonder whether I've got the maths right. That's exactly what I'm wondering. I believe if it finishes where Jack overtakes Edmondson, I believe there will be tie on points, and that means that Jack will win because he's had more wins in the championship. That is where I think it will be. But as we see, Max, this is where, when I was saying before, Jordan, he's friends with Max. Will there be after this race? Let's see how good Max can defend.
Well, to be fair, I'm just looking. Jack McIntyre is all over the back of him. You can see Max Emerson. There is no love lost between these two. He is defending for all of his life. Jack's going to try and do the cutback. He doesn't quite get it stuck, though. So 1 more lap to go. He's going to try and go around the inside of turn 1. Max Emerson does the defensive move. Is he going to try and do what he did to Robbie Stapleford and try and go around the outside? No, he can't quite do it. So this is the last lap. 1 more lap to go, and this is the battle to watch. This is for the championship, bear in mind. For everyone that's not watching, if you can't quite know and you can't quite tell from our very contained excitement, shall we say, this is the championship battle that is happening. If Jack can make this move, he is going to win the championship for the first season, and he's going to try and go around the outside, going as the old hairpin. No! That's not what he wants. He managed to keep it all in check, but that is the move that unfortunately was made, and that's it. Unless anything else happens, unfortunately, that was just something that really Jack didn't want. Obviously, Jordan's going to be loving life at the moment, but Jack did not want that, did he, Steve?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's exciting, it's fantastic, it's brilliant racing, absolutely fantastic driving from all involved. But let's not forget, as I've said before, this is about the championship, as in the race of champions with the multiple disciplines they've got to do. So this is just for honours in the Porsche Cup tonight. Fantastic that it's come down to the wire. It's looking like Jack McIntyre has just lost that opportunity. He had to make a move, he had to try it, and he just Jordan Brennan takes the checkered flag and looks like he's going to take the bragging rights for the Porsche Cup. But yeah, Jack had to make a challenge, had to make an attempt to pass, didn't he, Dave? You know, there was nothing else he could do.
Yeah, I mean, that was a case of, you know, Jack braked about as late as he probably could have done. Max braked equally to that. And I think, I don't want to start clashes here, but I think Jack maybe just moved slightly over in front of Max in the braking zone, just to try and close the corner off. And it was just enough to tap Jack. I mean, what a hold to still bring it home in 5th place after that. That is incredibly hard to hold. But another major point here, for all the time Jordan Brennan has been racing with VRRC, he hasn't had a win yet. Through all the mini esports and all the other championships, he hasn't had a win. So to now come home with the championship and a win under his belt, you know, to such a nice guy, fair play, Jordan.
Yeah, indeed. And to be fair, Dale, I'd probably agree with you to a certain extent. It just looked like, I think at the moment, nothing could have been done, I don't think, at that point. So Edmondson, was just in a position where he was on the brakes. He couldn't really stop anymore. He couldn't press the brakes anymore, obviously, because he was already at maximum braking force. So, yeah, it was really unfortunate. Like I said, the move had to be done. And that, I mean, again, fair play to Jack for giving it a go, especially around the outside to then pull back in. But there we go. At the moment, this is the provisional results for race 2 and for the final race in the first series, first of 3 series in the VRRC League of Champions. So Jordan Brennan takes the win, and also at the moment, hopefully, if David has done the maths correct, he will take the championship as well. Max Bird in P2, Edmondson in P3, Stapleford P4, Oliver P5, good performance from him, McIntyre in P6, gutting for him, I can imagine. Johnson P7, Tempera, another good performance for himself in P8, Mick Sutton in P9, and Andy Dorman in P10. As I say that, the order has seemed to have moved up, so I'm not entirely sure what has happened there. But there we go. No, very, very good stuff. I think that's probably one of the most exciting races I've ever commentated on. Bear in mind, I've only been doing it for about 3 months. But
I've only been doing it 4 races.
But exactly, so it goes to I mean, yeah, if this is going to be what's going to happen, I mean, we're going to see some completely different racing, I can imagine, with the Bath Cup. Because obviously it's open where you've got to be a lot more careful. There's going to be a less rubbing is racing, shall we say, because of the nature of the way the cars are. But Steve, I mean, yeah, this is going to really. But this has set the bar, hasn't it, I think, for the remainder of the League of Champions in terms of racing and what we can expect from the next 3 series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping that we see virtually, if not all of these drivers on the grid for the next series. Maybe with a few extras, as Dave was saying, maybe there's some more signing up, because the racing for the whole of this season has been very, very good. It's been to a very high standard. The boys have been quick, generally clean, generally fair, and usually pretty close. We've had Jack McIntyre running away with some of the races, but generally, the racing has been pretty close up and down the field. So it's been a fantastic series to commentate on. Really looking forward to the next 4 races.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be good. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait. But we do have the top 3, I believe, for race 2. So, gents, shall we all go down and have a chat with them?
Indeed.
Let's go. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing? I think, to be fair, Jordan, I'm going to start with yourself. I mean, wow, that was probably that was one of the best races I think that we've ever commentated on. To be fair, it was definitely one of the most exciting. To be fair, you didn't necessarily do that much overtaking in terms of actually racing cars. It was just more sort of cars like the parting of the Porsche C, as it were.
Yeah, I just got really lucky with that. I got caught up in that incident with turn 1 and got a little bit of damage, and then just tried to carry on going. But when I just seen everyone going off, I was like, that'll do. Nice.
Well, I suppose that's supposed to be just that'll do. That's the definitely way to sum it up.
Yeah.
I suppose, really, really good stuff. What was the game plan actually going in? Because it'd be interesting to know from your side. Was it just, were you thinking of the bigger picture, obviously, because you've got the next 3 series to go, or was it more so that out and outright going for the win in the Porsche Cup?
Well, after that race 1, it didn't go so well, so I just wanted to see what I could do. I started taking it easy after that, after the first safety car, and then everyone just started falling off the track. So I was like, right, just get on it, see what we can do.
No, it's really good stuff. Well, we're just having a look on the broadcast at the moment, and it is said you are the champion for the Porsche Challenge. So congratulations, very well done. I'm sure from all the guys as well. Dave, Steve, anything else from you guys to add?
Yeah, I mean, that's a top effort, Jordan. I was just saying tonight, you haven't had a win with the VRRC Championship yet, or part of the VRRC Championships. To do it tonight on the championship win, I can only imagine what your heart and your head was doing as you were looking in your mirror, trying to work out the points, or was it a case of you were just driving your own race and seeing what was going to happen at the end?
I was just driving, seeing what I could do. I was keeping an eye on where Jack and Robbie were, and when I seen them coming through, I was like, oh no, just see what I can do, see where it ends up.
Yeah, I mean, for you to be battling the championship with, as I say, Robbie and Jack, I mean, you've got Robbie there, who is an incredibly quick driver himself, but if you want anyone in front of Jack, it is ironically probably Robbie. So, it works itself out, but yeah, hell of a drive, you kept it on track, hell of a win, great.
Cheers, thank you.
I imagine you probably don't know what to say yourself.
No.
Oh, well, mega win, Jordan, and look forward to seeing how you're doing this for Bath.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, well done, Jordan, mate. I mean, you just kept that car where you needed to in that race, didn't you? Like you say, you picked the opportunities up as they happen, but you put yourself in that position. So the boys have said it all in their questions to you so far. So all I can say is, well done, and good opening 4 rounds to what is a long season. So well done, mate.
Cheers, thank you.
There we go, Jordan Brennan there. I think next, Max Bird will have a chat with yourself. How are you doing?
Yeah, that was a bit of a hard race, to be honest. Quite lucky to be honest where I finished. I just find it really difficult to sort of maintain the same sort of laps as Jordan, really. Obviously, well done to Jordan. And also Max behind me, he's putting pressure on me all the way through, and I don't know how I hang on, really.
Well, to be fair, it was very, very good to watch from our side. Was it more so of a, so again, from your perspective in terms of obviously one of the drivers, were you finding that the tyres were sort of particularly hard to manage, especially around Oulton Park, or was it something else? What was it like from your perspective?
I mean, so I was having issues with keeping the fronts warm, and then the rears were getting too hot, so it was just a catch-22 really. But I knew the main advantage I had was off the line, and I seemed to get good starts. Obviously there was a slight crash, so I didn't get to sort of take full advantage of that. But I think it was a long race, and I think second's a good position really.
Well, absolutely. No, it's a very, very good position. Are we obviously taking that sort of, the last round of the championship for the first series of the League of Champions? I can imagine, obviously, we're taking some confidence going into the second round, if it's something you're participating as well in the Bath Cup. What's the sort of, is it similar game plan from this championship, or is it completely different because it's open wheel?
I've got a lot more confidence in those cars, so I think it's going to be a lot more. I'm going to put a lot more sort of effort and time. Not that I'm not into this, but I feel a lot more comfortable in the cars, and I just think that I'm going to run a lot better in those sort of cars with the aero. Obviously, the Porsches have aero, but they don't really have a lot of front end aero. So, yeah, it should be interesting.
Well, good stuff. No, very look forward to seeing you for the next series. Again, gents, we would like to have any other questions for Max?
Yeah, it's just to say, Max, cheers for being part of the VRRC Championships. It's great to have real drivers of your caliber enter, and you just showed yourself in I think it was race 1 going down through Cascades, had a huge slide around the left-hander, and then it went the opposite way, and then it went the opposite way on stream, on board, full opposite lock, and held it. And I was just saying to the lads, like, that just shows the control that you have. You know, you've learned it in real life and you brought it to a sim, and you know, really just shows like how you can really transfer them skills from real life onto a sim.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's such a hard car, the Porsche, obviously rear engine, rear wheel drive. But yeah, I think looking forward to the single seated stuff, I think that should be where I find some pace.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think especially with the Fabath being the next championship, you know, it's going to lend itself to people with, you know, better racecraft skills, and you know, that's obviously what you've learned from a very young age. So looking forward to seeing how you get on in that, and good luck going forward into round 2.
Cheers, thank you, mate.
No bad.
Yeah, and just a well done on that race result from me, Max. You had some great battling in the middle of that race. There was, yeah, 3 or 4 of you in very, very close contention. So, you know, good result from you, mate, and well done on second place. And look forward to seeing you in those open wheelers.
Cheers, thank you very much. Yeah, hopefully some more close racing to come.
Thank you.
There we go. Max Bird there, P2 for race 2. In the final round at Oulton Park. I do believe as well, we've just had Max Edmondson pop in to the comms booth as well. So, Max, are you there? I know your mic is muted. I don't know if you can hear us. At the moment, we don't seem to be having there. At the moment, hopefully we're going to bring him back in a second. Yeah, I mean, wow, really, really well done from Jordan and Max there. That was a very, very good. Very, very good. Well, I think to be fair as well, while we just wait to see if Max is available, Dave, I think going through, you know, completely different cars, the Fabath. You know, you've got open wheel with high downforce. You know, what's it going to be like in terms of how they're going to really work and how they're going to try and drive this car? Because it's completely different to the Porsche. What are the things they are going to have to look out for?
So the big thing with the Fabath is it's all, because they don't have a lot of power. They're only 200 horsepower or so. It's all about keeping that momentum through the corners. So you're going to see, you know, more slipstream advantage on the straights, and as I say, more of that racecraft. As in, you know, if you're trying to set a pass up because you don't have the power, it's setting that sort of pass to 1 or 2 corners in advance, ready for the overtake. So you know, that's the sort of stuff that, you know, Max Edmondson, who we're waiting for, or Max Bird's done in karting from an early age. You know, that's their bread and butter. You know, these Porsches, you know, for the sim guys, it's you know, it's a lot more technical car to drive, and it's a lot more on the edge. So yeah, we'll go into the Fabath. It's a lot more stable. It's going to be better for racecraft. It's going to be another spectacle to watch.
It is indeed, and to be fair, I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So I think, to be fair now, unfortunately, we couldn't get a hold of Max Edmondson there. So we're not going to be able to have a chat with P3, the last podium position for race 2. I think, Steve, sort of final thoughts from yourself on how this championship's gone.
The championship on the whole has been obviously very, very exciting. It's been a fantastic championship with some excellent track choices. So well done to Dave and Rich and, you know, VRRC for organising this the first 4 rounds of what is promising to be a fantastic overall championship. But yeah, the Porsche Cups didn't disappoint. Neither did the tracks. The drivers, you know, they brought their A games to most of the tracks. We sort of had a chat with Jack there where he didn't quite get the results he wanted at the last round at Thruxton, but tonight he certainly brought his A game again, and he was just very unlucky at the end. You know, moving over in the braking zone there, maybe he should, if he'd have kept it out wide, he might have got the run. Ifs, buts, maybes. We are where we are with the points, and it's on to the Fabaths now, and I'm really looking forward to some open wheel action. I do like the open wheelers, and we've got some great track choices coming up with those as well. I believe we're at Zandvoort for the first round, Dave, is that correct?
Yeah, so Zandvoort for the first round. You know, I try to take an influence of sort of the slightly smaller GP tracks, and some like quite nice twisty sort of kart-esque tracks. So yeah, it's going to be great to watch them go around the track. And I'm just looking at the championship points here. You know, Jordan Brennan, top of the points, which I'm pleased about. You know what I mean? I did my maths correct. But Jack McIntyre to Robbie Stapleford, 1 point in it between second and third. And Max Edmondson, it's a shame we couldn't drag him into the interview there. He's worked to 4th place. So what a finish. Actually, just to say that, he's just been dragged in there. Are you there, Max?
I am indeed.
Oh, how was that for a follow-on? Yeah, awesome effort in that race. that's actually helped you secure 4th place in the championship. How do you feel?
Obviously, it was a very close race between me, Mac, Jordan, and who else was it? Jack McIntyre. There was a bit of contact between me and Jack at the end, but I don't think anything was too severe. But overall, I think it was a good race.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually on stream when that little coming together was on, and as I said, I don't want to get too involved in looking into it. We'll have people look at it after if it flags up. But to me, it looked like Jack just ever so slightly moved across the front, trying to close the corner in the braking zone, and there wasn't that much that you could have really done about that. That's the way I saw it on screen, but it might look different from a driver's point of view. But yeah, as far as the championship is concerned, 4th place in the overall after the season you've had, that must give you a bit of confidence going in towards the Fabaths, and slightly better start the season, and you could see yourself really high up.
Yeah, I've driven the Fabaths a couple times, but I'm not really. Obviously, I haven't driven hours and hours on them, but I don't think they should be too hard to get used to. But
well, as we see, you definitely make a determined effort to probably do the most practice out of anyone on the grid. So I'm sure you'll put a few hours into that car, and we'll hope to see you do well. I don't know whether any of the guys have got any questions for you.
I just wanted to say well done, Max, on some difficult racing in that round. Some very close racing, but you did a really great job to bring it home, and 4th in the championship after 4 rounds. That's not a bad place to be. Going into the next discipline, which, like you say, is the Fabaths, get some laps in. As Dave said, I've seen the lap counts when you've been practicing for the other sort of races and championships within VRRC. You certainly aren't afraid to put the hours in, mate. So I'm sure you'll get some good results hammered out in those cars as well. So well done and good luck going forward, mate.
Appreciate it.
Brilliant. Again, yeah, just very quickly from me as well, Matt. No, really, really well done. And really look forward to seeing you for the next championship in the Fabath.
Thank you.
So there we go. Wow. I think, to be fair, yeah, an absolutely cracking race and a cracking end to the season. We are going to have to wrap it up, though. And I just would like to say, and again, this is from myself, Stephen, thank you, everyone, so much for watching and tuning in for the last 4 rounds and for the first of what it is hoping to be and what is shaping up to be an absolutely incredible championship. Again, any last comments from either from Steve or Dave?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the race, and that's on offer from VRRC. I mean, there's little collisions here and there, but on the whole, this is the standout place for clean, imaginative, full commentary, full stream racing. There's still spaces in the Fabath for next round and the remainder of the other 2 championships. So if you want to get involved, jump on Discord, search for VRRC, or on our Facebook page, get in touch. And we're a big community that'll always help people. So that's about it. And big thanks to Dan and Steve for my first ever comms on the championship. You've made it as relaxing as it can be, and hopefully I haven't done too bad of a job. We're still learning, but it's not too bad.
No, you've done really well, Dave, and it's been a pleasure to work alongside yourself and Dan for these first 4 races. It's been absolutely awesome. But yeah, I think that's we've given it all the superlatives we can, and I think now we're just all anticipating some great racing next week from Zandvoort. So I think I'll leave it to Dan to sign out for us now.
Well, there we go. So yeah, like I said, we hope you have enjoyed it. We look forward very much to seeing you for the next round of the Fabath Cup, for round 1 actually for the Fabath Cup next week. But until then, make sure if you haven't already, please do like, subscribe, do all that you need to do, and make sure you get involved as well on social media and on the Discord as well. So we do look forward to catching up with you in there also. But until next time, everyone, take care and stay safe.
Between the 2 of them,
The inside of coats,
Parker gets too heavily involved.
and that's Whitehead and Coates.